Welcome to Martha's Stories.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. You're too old to travel with us, Grandma. Just watch the house. That's what they said, bags packed, tickets in hand, standing in my doorway like I was the hired help. Lisa didn't meet my eyes. Adam said it too casually, like it was a favor, not a cut. You can water the plants, check the mail. The kids left you a goodbye card. I didn't open it. Instead, I stood there in my good blouse, the one I ironed for the flight. My suitcase already by the door, zipped and waiting. I'd printed the itinerary. I'd baked muffins for the plane. I'd laid out matching outfits for the grandkids, labeled them, even stitched their names on the tags. And they looked through me. I thought I was coming, I said once. Quiet. Adam kissed my forehead like you'd pet an old dog. This trip's gonna be hectic, Mom. Long flights, too much walking. We just didn't want to worry about you. Didn't want to worry about me. As if I were a burden, not a part of their family. Not the woman who sold her wedding band to cover his college fees. Not the one who raised him while working 2 jobs. Just the furniture now. Familiar. Fading. I watched them pull away from the curb, Lisa waving like it was a game. The car turned the corner, and just like that, silence settled into the house. I didn't cry. I walked back inside, took off my shoes, and sat at the kitchen table. Their card lay unopened in front of me, next to the muffins. I opened it. It said, "Thanks for understanding. See you in a week." No love. No grandma. Just that. I stood up slowly and walked into the hallway. On the counter I saw them 3 airline tickets. All in Adam's name, and one labeled spare adult. I laughed once. Quiet. Sharp. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd excluded me. I didn't scream. I didn't call. I went to the bedroom and changed my clothes. Then I picked up the ticket. They said I was too old to travel. So I took their flight. Alone. Without permission. Without goodbye. You helped. Now you hinder. I didn't leave. I was left out. You didn't forget me. You erased me. 3 days before their flight, I stood in the laundry room folding shirts that weren't mine. Lisa's linen blouse. Adam's golf polos. Even Ruby's little pink leggings. I'd washed and ironed everything with care, thinking I was packing for a shared memory. Lisa handed me a list with flight times, airport drop-off schedule, sunscreen reminders. "We'll go through it all together," she said, smiling that thin smile that doesn't touch the eyes. I believed her. The next morning I baked blueberry muffins. Real ones from scratch, not a mix. Ruby liked the tops only, so I made a few with extra crumble. I set them aside, still warm, in the basket I used to bring to school bake sales. I laid my clothes out on the bed. Soft travel pants, the cream blouse, my sun hat from the cruise Adam gave me for my 60th. That was the last time I remember him looking at me with admiration instead of obligation. I printed out the tickets from my email. Adam had forwarded them weeks ago. 3 adults, 2 children. My name wasn't on the main reservation, but there was a 3rd adult spot marked TBD. I thought nothing of it. I thought I was the TBD. I thought families made room. I even wrapped a little gift for the trip, travel journals for the kids, stickers, pens, tiny maps. I remembered how much Adam used to love drawing planes when he was 6. I packed it all neatly in my carry-on. The one I used when I flew out to help after Lisa's C-section. Back then they needed me. I was useful. Essential. Now I was just a fixture. The night before the flight, I offered to take the early shift, drive them to the airport, help with bags. "You don't have to," Lisa said. "Sleep in. We'll come get you." That's the moment I should have seen it. The softness in her voice wasn't care. It was closure. I nodded anyway. I always nodded. That morning I woke early anyway. Showered. Dressed. I even put on a little lipstick the way my late husband used to like it. "Makes your face look alive," he'd say. When Adam walked into the kitchen, he looked startled. "You're dressed." "I'm ready," I said, smiling. Got the muffins packed. And I found the neck pillows. He hesitated. Twitch in the jaw. "Oh." Lisa and I were thinking maybe you should just hold down the fort this time. We've got it covered. That's when it started. The spinning. That slow, surreal moment when you realize the train has already left, and you're not even at the station. I still helped load the car. Still kissed Ruby on the forehead. Still waved. Still stood in the hallway after the door shut, hand on the wall, balance slipping. They said, "We'll call you from the gate." They didn't. You didn't exclude me by accident. You planned for my absence. I folded your clothes. You folded me out. It was the next morning when I found the full truth. The ticket was still on the hallway table, tucked under the grocery list. Not mine, not really. The third adult slot hadn't been assigned. Just a placeholder. I opened the itinerary again. Their flight was scheduled for 9:40 a.m. from Terminal B. It was 8:15. I knew the timing of that airport like the back of my hand. Adam hated being late. Lisa planned like it was religion. I picked up the house phone. Dialed his number. Straight to voicemail. Then I remembered Lisa's tablet on the side table. She always forgot it when she didn't need to entertain the kids. It was unlocked. I tapped the screen purely from instinct, not suspicion. The first thing I saw was a group chat titled Oahu Crew. Her, Adam, and someone named Jenny, probably a friend watching their dog. Maybe I should have stopped there. But I didn't. I scrolled up. Confirmed car rental and hotel. Just 5 of us. Tell her we'll call when we land, less drama that way. Another message. She thinks she's coming. Adam, you have to say something before it gets awkward. And the one that landed like a nail to the chest. She's too old. We want to enjoy the trip, not babysit. They weren't subtle. They weren't even ashamed. I closed the app. Sat down on the edge of the sofa and let the silence hum around me. It wasn't forgetfulness. It wasn't miscommunication. It was design. They'd known. Planned it. Smiled through it. Gave me muffins and lies. I stood up. Walked into the guest room, my room now I suppose, and stared at the suitcase by the bed. Still zipped. Still waiting. Then I picked up the phone again. I didn't call Adam. Called a taxi. Not because I had anywhere to go, not yet, but because staying in that house even one more hour felt like betrayal of myself. 20 minutes later, a yellow cab pulled into the driveway. "Where to?" the driver asked, adjusting the mirror. "Airport," I said. He glanced at me. "Vacation." I looked straight ahead. Sort of. At the terminal, I didn't head to departures. I sat down in the food court with a black coffee and the tablet in my bag. I opened it one more time. The chat had updated. Jenny. Did she take it okay? Lisa. We left before she woke up. Less messy. Adam. She'll be fine. She always is. I stared at that last line. She'll be fine. That's what they built everything on. That I'd be fine no matter how they treated me. That I wouldn't scream, wouldn't cry, wouldn't cause trouble. They were right. But they forgot something. I wouldn't be there. Not next week. Not next year. I wouldn't be fine in their house, their plans, their filtered photos. I'd be fine elsewhere. I didn't raise a monster. I raised a man who got tired of remembering I'm real. They didn't abandon me. They coordinated my absence. I didn't go home. I stood outside the airport with the tablet still in my bag, the suitcase in my hand, and a clarity in my chest I hadn't felt in years. I didn't cry. That would have been too easy and too generous. They didn't earn my tears. They'd counted on my silence, assumed I'd sulk, stew, forgive. Like always. But silence isn't always submission. Sometimes it's the sound of the knife turning. I crossed the street, found a bench in the shade near the taxi stand and sat. My hands were steady. My thoughts quieter than they should have been. I opened my phone, not to call them but to search. Motels near me. No ID required. Found one 20 minutes away. Clean enough. Cheap. Place for people in between. The driver didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence was a gift. When I stepped into the motel lobby, it smelled of bleach and long shifts. The clerk looked up. A young man with purple fingernails and sleep in his eyes. Need a room. Just one night. He slid a clipboard across. ID and cash? I gave him both. From the envelope I kept behind the kitchen flour canister. Emergency fund, I used to call it. I suppose this counted. A different kind of emergency, the kind where you realize you've been the only one holding the thread. Room 103. The key was heavy, real metal, chipped plastic tag. The hallway was narrow and dim. My room smelled like cheap soap and old curtains. I locked the door, sat on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. Then I did something I hadn't done in 20 years. I let myself get angry. Not loud. Not wild. Just sharp, internal, precise. I thought about every dinner I cooked that no one thanked me for. Every holiday I was told to just bring something small. Every time I was asked to babysit, loan money, pick up the slack. I told myself it was love. That families are like this. But love doesn't leave you behind with a card that says, "Thanks for understanding." They didn't love me. They used me. And I let them. But that night, in that cold motel bed with the scratchy blanket pulled to my chin, I made a decision. Not revenge. Not a performance. Just this: I would never go back. Not as grandma. Not as mom. Not as filler or afterthought or standby seat. I turned off my phone. Laid it face down on the nightstand. And for the first time in years, the silence in the room wasn't punishment. It was peace. I don't miss them. I miss who I thought I was to them. They didn't cut me off. They just stopped pretending I mattered. Sometimes the loudest goodbye is the sound of a key not turning in your own front door. The motel lobby had a coffee machine with burnt decaf and powdered creamer. I drank 2 cups anyway. At least it was hot. I sat by the window with the newspaper someone had left behind. Flipped pages I didn't care about until one headline caught my eye. Property transfers and legal filings. The list was long and bureaucratic. But the second name stopped me cold. Adam R. Miller and Lisa D. Miller. New deed filed. Property transfer. Primary residence. I blinked. They had changed the house deed. The house I'd moved into 10 years ago to help after Ruby was born. The one I paid off halfway when Adam lost his job. No call. No explanation. Just a line of ink in a city paper, as though I was a guest who'd overstayed. I searched my emails. Nothing. I searched the property record site. There it was, newly listed. Their names only. Mine removed. No confrontation. No conversation. Just deleted. I laughed once. The sound was bitter, hollow. It echoed off the motel walls. This wasn't about the trip. It had never been about the trip. It was a phase-out. One silent move at a time. I reached into my bag and pulled out the small, weathered envelope I hadn't touched in years. Inside was a folded card from a lawyer. Not Adam's lawyer. Mine. The one who handled Derek's estate, who'd helped me draft a will after the cancer scare. I opened the card. The number hadn't changed. I dialed. "Rosen and Meyer," the voice said. "This is Margaret Talbot," I replied. "I need to update some documents." "When?" "As soon as possible." We set the appointment for Monday morning. I hung up and stared at the wall. Bade. Blank. Then I pulled my wallet from the suitcase. Inside, 2 credit cards, an expired bus pass, and a folded note in Ruby's handwriting from years ago. "Grandma, don't leave. You're the only one who makes it feel like home." I pressed it between my fingers. They'd made it clear. The locks weren't changed yet, but the message was the same. "You're not part of this." So I wouldn't be. I looked out the window at the gray parking lot, at a crow picking at a discarded French fry, and I felt a strange thing rise inside me. Not grief. Permission. I wasn't the one being erased. I was the one stepping out of the frame before they whitewashed the space I stood in. I wasn't cut out. I stepped aside. They rewrote the deed. I rewrote the ending. I didn't warn them. That was the warning. At the motel desk, I asked for a pen. The clerk handed me one shaped like a flamingo, clearly a leftover from some promotional batch. It didn't matter. It wrote. Back in my room, I sat at the little desk and laid out everything. The letter from the lawyer. My folded will. An old notebook where I'd once written birthday lists and grocery plans and medication schedules. I turned to a blank page. And I started writing goodbye. Not to them, they wouldn't get it. To myself. The version of me that kept waiting for permission to matter. Then I tore out the page. Not a goodbye. A list. Portland. I'd loved Portland once. The river. The bookstores. The way people there never rushed you in coffee lines. Derek and I had gone there before we were married. We'd stayed in a motel just like this. I remembered the rain. I picked up my phone and searched flights. One way. No checked bag. A flight left at 7:20 the next morning. 2 seats left. I booked one. Then I called Rosen and Meyer back. Left a voicemail. Please prepare updates for my will. I'll sign in Portland. I'm moving permanently. Next, I opened my savings app. Transferred the balance from the shared account to the private one Derek and I had opened in 1984. Still worked. Still had my name only. Then I changed my mailing address to a P.O. box. Updated my voter registration. Canceled the autopay on the utilities. Nothing loud. Nothing dramatic. I turned off the fridge light. Wrote a note. Do not forward mail. Occupant moved. Then I took my wedding ring from the inside of my toiletries bag. I hadn't worn it in years. Not since the arthritis flared. But I slipped it on anyway. It made my hand ache, but the ache felt like something real. At dawn I showered, dressed, and rolled my suitcase to the door. At the airport I didn't look around. Didn't check for messages. They hadn't called. I knew they wouldn't. Adam never liked admitting he'd done something wrong. Lisa preferred silence to conflict. I preferred freedom. When the plane took off, I looked out the window as the clouds swallowed the city that had swallowed me. I didn't feel sad. I felt precise. I didn't ask for respect. I reclaimed my absence. No fireworks. No rage. Just the sound of a door closing and not reopening. If you don't want someone in your life, they just might agree. Portland greeted me like an old friend who remembered only the best parts. The air was crisp, smelling faintly of wet concrete and pine. Clouds hung low but not unkind. I stepped out of the airport with my bag in one hand and nothing tethering me in the other. The cab driver was an older man with a thick beard and a jazz station playing low. You visiting family? He asked. No, I said. Not anymore. He glanced at me through the mirror, nodded once. No more questions. The motel I chose was 2 miles from my old apartment, the one I'd shared with Derek before babies, before mortgages, before the shape of my life began bending toward everyone else's needs. I wasn't planning on visiting it. Just wanted to be near a version of myself I once liked. The woman behind the check-in counter wore a faded hoodie and had a pencil behind her ear. Long trip? She asked, taking my ID. Long enough. She looked at me again, not unkindly. You look like someone who finally did what she needed to. I smiled at that. Not because it was funny, but because it was accurate. The room was clean. Sparse. 1 bed, 1 lamp, 1 small desk. A Bible in the drawer, a chipped mug by the sink. I unpacked slowly. 3 shirts. A scarf. My medications. An old paperback I never finished. I laid each item down like it was something sacred. That afternoon, I walked 2 blocks to a diner with cracked red booths and a smell that made me remember long drives and roadside breakfasts. The barista was in her 20s. Worn sneakers, chipped blue nails. Refills free, she said, setting down my coffee. You look like someone who knows how to wait for what matters. I'm done waiting, I replied. She grinned. Even better. By the time I left, the clouds had lifted slightly. I passed a woman sweeping the front of a bookstore. She looked up as I passed. You from here? She asked. Once, I said. You look different than most. How so? Like someone who stopped asking for permission. That night in the motel room, I turned off my phone for good. No one had called anyway. I stared at the ceiling and thought, this is not a beginning. It's a return. Not to them. Not to the past. But to myself. They said stay. I chose go. Silence isn't empty. It's earned. I used to be someone's mother, someone's helper, someone's emergency contact. Now I am just someone. It happened on the 3rd morning. I was walking back from the corner bakery, scone in one hand, paper bag of coffee beans in the other, when I saw the message. Not a call. A voicemail. From Lisa. I hadn't turned on the phone, not really. Just powered it up to check a code I needed for the lawyer's office. But there it was. Voicemail from Lisa Miller 2 days ago. I didn't mean to press play. My thumb slipped. Hi, Margaret. I guess we're wondering where you are. Adam said he tried to call. We didn't see you at the house. The kids asked and anyway, we just thought maybe you were still upset about everything. Let us know when you're ready to talk. No apology. No explanation. Just the fragile edge of self-preservation. I sat on the park bench across the street from the bakery, watched people walk dogs, sip coffee, Live mornings that didn't have to unravel anything. Then the phone rang again. Adam. I stared at it. Let it ring. Then without thinking I answered. Mom. His voice sounded unsure. Like he wasn't sure what role he was playing today. Not son. Not betrayer. Something in between. I'm here, I said. A pause. We didn't mean for things to feel like they do. How do they feel? I asked flat. Like you're gone. Like you disappeared. You didn't even leave a note. You left one, I said. It was on a boarding pass. Come on, Mom. It's not that simple. No, I said. It's simpler. Another pause. Breathing on the line. I just thought you'd understand, he said. I did, I said. That's why I left. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It wasn't even sad. It was just true. He tried again. Can we talk? We are talking. No, I mean, can we fix this? I stood up, brushed a crumb from my sleeve. You can't fix what you never believed was broken. And then before he could reply, I added, now you know how silence sounds from someone who always answered. I ended the call. Stood on the sidewalk under the soft Oregon sun. The birds didn't pause. The cars didn't stop. But something had ended. Something long overdue. And not with shouting. Not with a slammed door. With a sentence. They waited for me to explain. I waited for them to feel it. I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped guarding it. They heard my silence. That was enough. By the end of the week, the lawyer's office had everything they needed. The trust was finalized. The will rewritten. The power of attorney reassigned. None of it was dramatic. Just signatures. Just choices. I left nothing to Adam. Not the house. Not the pension. Not the bonds I had tucked away in the back of my drawer behind old birthday cards and tax forms. I'd spent decades preparing safety nets. They'd cut the ropes. I took back the net. Instead, I named a foundation as beneficiary. A small local nonprofit that offered housing to elderly women displaced from family care. The kind of place I might have ended up in if I hadn't packed a bag and left on my own terms. I wrote a letter. Not to Adam but to the organization. I've lived a long life in the shadows of people I loved. This is my way of stepping into the light. Use it well. I mailed it from a quiet corner post office on Belmont Avenue. The clerk was a soft-spoken man with ink-stained fingers. He took the envelope with a reverence I didn't expect. That all today, ma'am? That's everything, I said. Back at the motel, I received one final message. This time from Lisa. Margaret. We're trying to explain to the kids. They don't understand where you are. Please, just let us know if you're okay. I deleted it. Then I deleted the entire thread. It felt clean. Like opening a window in a house that had gone stale. They would look for me. They might even try to spin it, make me the unstable one, the dramatic one, the unreasonable matriarch who finally snapped. Let them. There would be no address forwarded. No paper trail. No voicemail explaining where I'd gone or why. Just the space where I used to be. I imagined them standing in my old kitchen, the air a little too quiet, the drawers a little emptier, the sense that something was missing, not because I'd left in anger, but because I left in certainty. Certainty is louder than grief. I stood at the bus stop that evening with my coat buttoned and the last light folding across the pavement. A woman sat next to me, older, eyes tired but not dim. Leaving or returning? She asked. Neither, I said. I'm arriving. She nodded like she understood. I used to live for them, I added, not even sure why I spoke it aloud. And now, she asked. Now they live with the echo. They'll call, she said. I won't answer, I replied. They won't recognize the number anymore. The apartment was small. A converted attic above an old bookshop, with sloped ceilings and a window that caught the morning light like a secret. I paid the first month in cash. The landlord didn't ask questions, only handed over a key and said, Quiet hours are after 10. It smelled like old paper and lemon oil. I opened the window on the first day and let the air in. My suitcase fit under the bed. My new life fit into a single drawer. I bought a second-hand kettle, 2 mugs and a small skillet. A notebook to write in. A plant for the windowsill. I named it Ruth. The routine was simple. Coffee by 7. A walk by 8. Sometimes I sat in the bookstore below and read pages I'd never finish. Sometimes I just watched people pass. No one knew me. That was the gift. On Sundays I baked. Nothing fancy, just scones or cornbread. I left a piece on the bookstore counter every week. The clerk, a woman with salt and pepper hair and a love for Gothic novels, never said thank you. She just smiled and left a paperback by my door in return. They stopped calling after the second week. First Adam, then Lisa. I imagine them finally understanding. I was gone, and not in the way people go on vacation or retreat. I was gone in the way a tree is gone when the roots are pulled. Nothing left to water. Nothing left to prune. Ruby sent a card. Crayon hearts. I miss you. Please come home. I folded it. Placed it in a box with no address. She would understand one day, when someone asked her to smile after being erased. Time passed gently. The days didn't stretch or drag. They arrived and they ended. That was enough. No explanations. No forwarding notes. No footprints back. Just me. On a Tuesday morning I made a blueberry pie, not for a visit, not for a holiday, just because I liked the smell. I sat by the window. Rain tapped soft against the glass. The pie cooled beside me. I thought about all the dinners I made where no one asked how I was. All the times I cleared dishes while they argued about tech and school schedules. All the birthdays I pretended not to mind being late to. All the times I laughed on cue. Now no one interrupted the silence. I lifted my cup, warm in both hands, and looked out into the soft gray of the street below. There were no voices. No footsteps. No questions. Only the stillness of something finally finished. And then one thought. Quiet. Final. Sometimes love is just the decision to stop explaining why you hurt. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.